They called me unstable, a threat. My own fiancé testified against me in front of the National Security Council. 2 weeks later, when every nuclear defense system in the country locked down and refused to respond to anyone but me, I watched him beg on his knees. I smiled and walked away. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with everything, stay with me. This story gets darker before it gets better. Hit that like button if you're ready for a revenge story that'll make you feel something real. And subscribe because you won't believe how this ends. My name is Rhiannon, and 5 years ago, I became one of the youngest biometric security engineers ever hired by the Department of Defense's Nuclear Command Authority. I know that sounds intimidating, but really, I was just good at understanding patterns. Human patterns. The way your heart rate shifts when you're lying. The microscopic changes in your fingerprint when you're under stress. The unique rhythm of how you type a password when you're tired versus when you're alert. I built systems that could read people better than they could read themselves, and I was proud of that work. It meant something. It kept people safe. But back then, what I was most proud of wasn't the security clearances or the commendations or the fact that generals twice my age asked for my opinion in classified briefings. What I was most proud of was Dominic. God, I loved him. We met during my second year at the DoD. He was a senior intelligence analyst, one of those brilliant guys who could see patterns in data that everyone else missed. We bonded over late nights in the SCIF, those secure rooms where we'd work on projects so classified we couldn't even tell our families we were working. He'd bring me coffee at 2 in the morning, the kind with way too much sugar because he knew I was running on fumes. I'd help him debug his threat assessments, pointing out behavioral patterns he'd overlooked. Everyone called us the power couple of national security. We even joked about it, how we'd probably have to get married in a bunker just to maintain operational security. I designed the engagement ring myself, had a jeweler create it based on a fractal pattern I discovered in biometric data. Dominic said it was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for him because only I would propose with math. He said yes in the parking garage after a 16-hour shift, both of us still wearing our security badges, and I swear that moment felt more classified than anything in the vaults upstairs. It was ours. Sacred. Real. For 3 years, we built a life together. We had inside jokes about security protocols. We'd steal kisses between briefings. We planned a wedding that would require background checks for every guest. It sounds insane, but it was perfect. He was my best friend, my partner, my future. I trusted him with things I'd never trusted anyone with. My fears, my ambitions, the password to my personal laptop, the location of my backup hard drives. Everything. I should have known better. I literally built systems designed to detect deception, and I missed every single red flag. Maybe that's the cruelest irony of all. I could read strangers like open books, but the person sleeping next to me every night? I was completely blind, and by the time I finally saw the truth, it was already too late. He'd made sure of that. It started small. So small I told myself I was imagining it. Dominic began coming home late, sometimes after midnight, smelling like coffee and something else I couldn't quite place. Perfume, maybe, but not mine. When I'd ask about his day, he'd give me one-word answers. Tired. Busy. Stressful. His phone, which used to sit face up on our kitchen counter, was suddenly always face down. Always locked. When I mentioned it casually, he laughed it off. New security protocol at work, he said. They're cracking down on device vulnerability. I worked in the same building. There was no new protocol. Then there was Sienna. She'd joined the Intelligence Analysis Division about 4 months into our engagement. Brilliant, ambitious, and always around Dominic. I'd see them in the cafeteria, heads bent together over tablets. In the hallway, laughing at something I wasn't part of. Once, I walked past his office and the door was closed. That never happened. Our offices had an open-door policy for security reasons. I knocked, waited. When he finally opened it, Sienna was standing by the window, adjusting her blouse. The energy in that room was wrong. Electric. Guilty. Dominic said they were just working on a classified analysis. Sienna smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. I started losing sleep. I'd lie awake at 3 in the morning, listening to him breathe, wondering if I was losing my mind. I checked his phone once while he was in the shower. Nothing. He'd cleared everything. That should have been my answer right there. But I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the wedding stress was getting to me. Maybe I really was too controlling, like his mother had hinted at Thanksgiving. And then my work started falling apart too. The biometric system I'd spent 2 years developing was ready for final implementation, but during the last round of testing, something unexpected happened. The system started rejecting other users. Consistently, it would authenticate me instantly, but everyone else got locked out after 2 or 3 attempts. My supervisor called me into his office, and I could see the concern on his face. "Rhiannon, this is a problem. We need redundancy. We can't have a nuclear defense system that only responds to one person. What if something happens to you? What if you're compromised?" I tried to explain that it was still in beta testing. The system was designed to learn and adapt to user patterns, and it just needed more calibration, more time. But he wasn't hearing it. He said the word that made my blood run cold. Liability. I was becoming a liability. "Fix it," he said. "You have 2 weeks." I left his office feeling like the walls were closing in. My professional reputation was on the line, and I couldn't focus because I was too busy wondering if my fiancé was sleeping with someone else. So I confronted him. One night after he came home at 11:30, I asked him directly, "Are you having an affair with Sienna?" He didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He exploded. His face went red, and he started yelling, actually yelling, something he'd never done before. "You're paranoid, Rhiannon. You're obsessed. Maybe this is why we have problems." I stood there, shocked, as he turned everything around on me. Suddenly, I was the unstable one, the jealous fiancé who couldn't handle stress. He stormed out, slept in his car that night, and when he came back the next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. That's when I knew. Something was very, very wrong, and I was running out of time to figure out what. I came home early on a Tuesday. I'd left work at noon, told my supervisor I was sick, which wasn't exactly a lie. I felt nauseous all the time now, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I just needed to be in my own space, away from the whispers and the pressure, and Dominic's cold shoulder. I unlocked our apartment door quietly, planning to take a shower and maybe actually rest for once. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Her laughter, coming from our bedroom. I don't remember walking down the hallway. I don't remember opening the door. But I remember everything after that, with perfect, horrible clarity. They were in our bed. Our bed. The one we'd picked out together at that overpriced furniture store. The one where we'd planned our future on Sunday mornings. Sienna's clothes were on my floor. Her shoes kicked off by the dresser. And the diamond bracelet I'd given Dominic for his birthday, the one that cost me 3 months' salary, was on her wrist. She was wearing my gift to him. I screamed. I don't even know what I said. Sienna scrambled for the sheets, her face flushed. Dominic didn't move fast enough. He just stared at me like I was an inconvenience. "How long?" I demanded. "How long has this been going on?" He stood up slowly, not even bothering to cover himself, and said the words that broke something fundamental inside me. "Does it matter?" Just like that. Cold. Detached. Like I was a problem he'd finally solved. Sienna found her voice then. She actually smirked at me while holding the sheet to her chest. "He was never really yours, Rhiannon. You were just too blind to see it." Something inside me snapped. I crossed the room and slapped him. Hard. Across the face. Hard enough that my palm stung. He didn't even flinch. Just looked at me with contempt, with disgust. Like I was the villain in the story. Then he said the words I'll never forget. "You're too much, Rhiannon. Too intense. Too controlling. I need someone who understands balance." Someone who doesn't make everything about work. I told him to get out. Both of them. Out of my apartment. He laughed. Laughed. It's my apartment too, remember? We're engaged. I ripped the ring off my finger and threw it at him. Not anymore. 2 days later, I was called into a security review. No warning, no lawyer, just me, a panel of senior officials, and my entire career hanging in the balance. They said I'd been behaving erratically, that colleagues had expressed concern about my mental stability, that I'd been possessive, paranoid, unable to separate personal issues from professional responsibilities. I was confused until I saw him. Dominic was there, sitting at the table, testifying against me. He told them about my jealousy, my accusations, how I'd become obsessed with his work relationships. He made me sound insane, dangerous. And then Sienna spoke. She claimed I'd been hostile to her, that I'd made veiled threats, that I'd created an uncomfortable work environment. I tried to defend myself, but they cut me off. Then they brought up my biometric system, how it was too dependent on me, how that dependency was suspicious. Maybe I designed it that way on purpose. Maybe I was using my position to make myself indispensable. Maybe I was the security threat. They suspended my clearance, right there, effective immediately. 2 guards escorted me out of the building while everyone watched. My badge was deactivated, my access revoked. I was walked out like a criminal, past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes, past Dominic who stood in the hallway with his arms crossed, past Sienna who had the audacity to look sympathetic. I'd been erased, and they'd done it together. 2 weeks passed like a fever dream. I didn't leave my apartment, didn't answer calls, didn't eat much. I just sat there replaying everything, wondering how I'd been so stupid, how I'd missed the signs, how the 2 people I'd trusted most had conspired to destroy me. I was drowning in it, that special kind of rage that sits in your chest like hot coal, when my phone rang. A number I recognized immediately. Department of Defense emergency line. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. The voice on the other end was panicked, desperate. "Rhiannon, we have a situation. We need you to come in immediately." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You fired me, remember? Called me unstable, a security threat." The man on the phone, my former supervisor, stammered. "There's been a critical system failure. The nuclear defense consoles have locked down. All of them. They won't respond to anyone." And then he said the words that changed everything. "The system only responds to you." I went silent. Let that sink in. My biometric system had gone fully operational the day before they fired me. For 2 weeks, it had been learning, adapting, evolving exactly as I designed it to. And now, it had locked to me completely. Every nuclear failsafe in the country was frozen, inaccessible, and I was the only key they had. "Please," he begged, "this is a national security emergency. We need you." Now I was the one smiling. I took my time getting ready, did my hair, put on my best suit, the one I'd been saving for my wedding. I drove to the facility slowly, deliberately, while my phone exploded with increasingly frantic calls. When I walked into that conference room, I savored every second. Generals, politicians, the Secretary of Defense himself, all of them standing there, terrified. And right in the middle of them, looking like he might vomit, was Dominic. Sienna stood in the corner, her confidence completely gone, hands shaking. My supervisor rushed forward. "Rhiannon, thank God. We need you to unlock the system immediately." I looked around the room slowly. Let them sweat. "Why should I help you? You called me unstable, a threat to national security." The Secretary of Defense stepped forward, his voice measured. "We made a mistake. We're prepared to reinstate you fully, clear your record, whatever you need." I turned to Dominic. Our eyes met. "Tell me, Dominic, am I still too intense, too controlling?" He broke. Actually broke right there in front of everyone. "Rhiannon, please. This is bigger than us. This is national security. Thousands of lives are at stake." I walked closer to him, watched him shrink back. "No," I said quietly. "This is exactly about us. You destroyed me to make room for her. You made me look insane to cover your affair. You took everything from me. Now you need me to save you. How does that feel? The room was silent. Then I laid out my terms. Full reinstatement, with a promotion to Director of Biometric Security. Public apology from both Dominic and Sienna, in writing, distributed department-wide. Their immediate resignation from the DoD. And one more thing. I want the ring back. Right now, in front of everyone. Dominic's face went pale. The generals agreed before he could protest. He reached into his pocket with shaking hands and pulled out my engagement ring, placed it in my palm. I closed my fist around it. Then I walked to the console, placed my hand on the scanner. It lit up instantly, recognizing me like an old friend. The systems came back online. Crisis averted. Dominic tried to approach me afterward, whispered that he'd made a mistake, that he still loved me. I looked at him one last time. You taught me something important. Never trust someone who builds their happiness on your destruction. Now get out of my sight. And I walked away. Free. 6 months have passed since that day, and I still think about it sometimes. Not with anger anymore, but with something quieter. Something like peace. I'm sitting in my new office right now, the one with the view of the monuments, the one that came with my promotion to Director of Biometric Security. My system is now legendary in defense circles. Other countries have tried to recruit me. I've turned them all down. Turns out, when you become indispensable, you also become untouchable. And I've learned to appreciate that power. Dominic left the DoD 3 days after the incident. He had no choice, really. The resignation was part of the deal. But even if it wasn't, no one wanted to work with the man who'd almost caused a national security catastrophe because he couldn't keep his personal life separate from his professional judgment. Last I heard, he's doing private security work in Nevada. No clearance, no prestige, no power. He sends me emails sometimes, late at night. I don't read them anymore. I just mark them as spam and move on. There's a freedom in that. In choosing not to engage with someone who no longer deserves access to your emotional space. Sienna couldn't find work in intelligence after what happened. Turns out when you participate in character assassination, and it backfires spectacularly, people remember. The industry is smaller than you'd think. Everyone talks. She's in marketing now, I heard, selling software or something equally mundane. And here's the thing that almost makes me laugh. They're not even together. Dominic and Sienna. The relationship that destroyed my engagement, that cost them both their careers, lasted exactly 3 weeks after I walked out of that conference room. Apparently, betrayal doesn't build a strong foundation for trust. Who knew? I'm single by choice now. I date sometimes, casually, but I'm not in a hurry. I spent so many years making someone else the center of my universe that I forgot what it felt like to be whole on my own. Turns out I'm pretty good company. I've traveled more in the past 6 months than I did in the previous 5 years. I've learned to cook something other than frozen dinners. I've started painting again, something I gave up in college because I was too busy trying to be serious and professional. My apartment is full of canvases now, abstract pieces that don't need to make sense to anyone but me. But the real change isn't in my job title, or my hobbies, or my relationship status. It's in how I see myself. They wanted to break me. They labeled me a threat because I was inconvenient, because I asked questions, because I demanded honesty. They thought if they destroyed my reputation, I'd just disappear quietly. Instead, they made me realize something crucial. My value isn't determined by who loves me or who believes in me. It's determined by what I can do, what I've built, what I know, and no one can take that away from me. Here's what I've learned. Betrayal will show you who people really are when the mask comes off. But revenge, real revenge isn't about destruction. It's not about making them suffer. Though I won't lie, watching Dominic beg was satisfying. Real revenge is rebuilding yourself into someone they can't touch anymore. Someone they need but can never have again. It's becoming so successful that they have to hear your name and know what they lost. It's living well, living fully, while they're stuck in the rubble of what they destroyed. Let them live with that. Trust me, it's the sweetest karma of all. If this story hit you somewhere deep, hit that like button right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're stronger than what broke them. and subscribe, because next week I'm bringing you another story of revenge that'll make your blood boil in the best way possible. Until then, remember this: they can label you a threat, they can try to bury you, they can take away your title and your security clearance and everything you thought defined you, but they can't control what you become after. And sometimes, what you become is exactly what they fear most: someone who doesn't need them anymore, someone who wins.